Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Left Undone, Incomplete Investigations. I'm Kathryn. If you're new here, please say hello in the chat. I see you guys are here. I got several of my regulars and my members. Thanks for being here. Sunshine in my heart, Lisa, Red Like Wine, Ivy Me, and welcome. I know it's kind of a busy time of year. Last night we had a members only live, and not very many people came because I guess people are shopping for the holidays and stuff. So I do want to introduce, we have a guest with us today, and I will bring her on in just a minute. But if you are new here, my name's Kathryn. I'm a registered nurse, and I do this part-time. So I'm not I'm not here all the time. I miss some Saturdays, but I try when I can to do a Saturday live stream and recorded videos as well. Although my recorded videos have been sparse lately because of the time constraints in my job. Hey, Leighton and Kristen and Angel. Okay, more people are showing up as they get the notifications. So you saw from the thumbnail that we have a guest today. Her name is Brittany, and she's going to talk to us about her sister's untimely death, which is really suspicious. And those of you that know me and have been here for a while, we're going on 2 years right now here at Left Undone, do know that my friend had a very similar situation. So let's bring on Brittany right now. And everybody, hey, Ruby, you're not late. We just started. And Leighton, okay, I got good mods here, so we're all good. Let me bring Brittany on, and I'll introduce her and introduce you to her. And mods, just be careful in the chat. Make sure there's no trolls and yada, 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 you know. Okay, let me bring Brittany in. Hi, Brittany. Welcome to Left Undone.
Hey, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. I actually ran across your blog by accident. I was looking at some true crime Facebook page, and you had commented about your sister and put the link to your blog. And so I went on there and read it, and I thought, oh my goodness, you know, so I wanted to offer you a chance to come on Left Undone and tell your story. I have had this feeling lately that I really want to get more stories out there, more people that aren't really getting a lot of exposure, and just let you come on and tell what happened and what you can tell us about your sister. And I want to say first, I'm very, very sorry to hear about the death of your sister. She was 32 years old. That's way, way, way too young. And my oldest son is 32. So I just can't imagine. So go ahead and introduce yourself and say hello to everyone. And I'm sure they'll have some questions, and I'll pop them up on the screen. Okay.
Hey, I'm Brittany. I'm Breana Noojin Nix's sister. I guess I'll go ahead and start by telling her story from March 2nd, 2020. I get a call from my brother-in-law, which is my sister's husband. His name's Steven. I'm sitting at work. I just finished eating lunch. He called me at 12:23. He said, hey, you need to get over here. Your sister's done tried to kill herself. And he said it just like that. He was not panicking or anything. So I kind of thought that he was joking. And I even asked, are you serious? And he said, yes, I'm being serious. Why would I joke around about something like this? So I dropped everything that I was doing. I went to her house. It probably took me about 25 minutes to get there, maybe 30. When I got there, her whole street was just lined with police and ambulance and other family members, just cars going all down her street. I walk in, and Steven is sitting there in the living room with his parents on each side of him. And I asked him what happened, and he said that he was outside on the front porch. He had heard a thump, but didn't think anything of it because she's always dropping her cell phone, which I thought was weird because a girl that's over 200 pounds, I mean, that's going to be a lot louder than someone dropping their cell phone. But anyways, he said that he went back there and told her, bye, I'm going to the bank in the dump. I love you, bye. which I thought was weird because I've never heard him tell her that he loves her. So he said he left, went to the bank in the dump, and when he got back, he noticed that the bathroom door was still shut in their master bathroom, and he tried to open it, and he said that it was weird because she always leaves the bathroom door open. And so he tried to open it and couldn't because it was locked. So he opened it, or he unlocked it with his fingernail. He tried to open the door and he couldn't because she was laid in front of it. So he had to shove the door open and force his way in. And he said that he saw her feet pointed towards the shower and they were blue. So he calls 911, and on the call, they told him to start doing compressions. And we actually listened to the call not long ago. And in the background, you really can't hear him doing compressions. He's really telling his story about where he was. And he came home and found her that way. And you could hear on the call the ambulance walk in, and they ended up taking over doing the compressions. But you really only heard him doing the compressions right before they walked in, like when he heard them at the house. But anyway, so they came in and started doing compressions. I was told by the original investigator that while the paramedics were working on my sister, he was practically tripping over them, trying to get to the bathroom to empty out the garbage can. So, if somebody's trying to save your life or your wife's life, the last thing you're going to be worried about is emptying the garbage can. So then they pronounced her dead at 12:54. He called 911 at 12:12, and they got there at 12:14. They pronounced her dead, and then they ended up taking her off, and they sent her to Huntsville to have an autopsy performed. And we really didn't know anything, and we were just waiting to get the report back to really find out what happened. The police stayed there probably until about 7:00 that night, asking them questions. Now, I was there when they were asking what the passcode to her cell phone is. And he was acting like he didn't know it, didn't want to give it to him. But I said, I know the passcode to her phone, and I gave it to him. And they opened it up. As soon as they opened it up, it was in the middle of some Facebook video that she had been watching. And so they turned that off. And the first thing I noticed was that she had a missed call. And when they opened it, because I'm standing behind them watching them, and when they opened it up, the missed call was from her husband, Steven. So they asked, what time does she normally get home? Because she would work from 7 p.m. until 7 a.m. She was a nurse for 12 years, and she did deal with fentanyl daily. But they asked him what time she got home, and he said she normally gets home around 8:00. She gets off at 7, but then has to finish up doing her charts and all that stuff. So it's usually about 8 a.m. when she gets home. And they said, well, where were you when she got home this morning? And he said, oh, I don't know. I was asleep. So I don't know exactly what time she got home. And they said, well, she has a missed call from you at 7:53. And he said, oh, well, I must have woke up and called her and forgot. I don't know. So then they asked, can we search her car? He said, that's fine. And they said, can we search your truck and take your phone? And he said, no. So the investigator actually had to go and get a warrant to look through his truck. And I probably left around 3:30 or 4 once they had taken her off. And then he called me probably about 7:30 that night, and he said that they had just left, and he knew that I was standing right there when they called him in that lie about calling her, that morning. So he said, "Oh, I was really awake. I was just pretending like I was asleep when I called her because I was just trying to see where she was at, and I didn't want her to know that I was home or something." So March 3rd, the very next day, we go to her house. My mother and I go over to her house that morning to look for an outfit for her to wear for her funeral. The funeral director did tell us that she would need some underwear, a bra, and an outfit that we liked for her. So we went over there and we thoroughly looked through her panty drawer just because she didn't have a decent pair of underwear. I mean, Breana, she never bought anything for herself. She was always given to people. She would make sure that anybody that she cared for had birthday presents and Christmas presents before she would even get anything for herself. So that was really sad to go through and see that she didn't even have a decent pair of underwear. But like I said, we did thoroughly go through that drawer, and there wasn't anything in there other than underwear and socks. So we found her an outfit and got everything together. On the 4th of March, which was a Wednesday, we met that morning at the funeral home, me, Stephen, my parents, and his parents. And we're trying to write the obituary, and he couldn't think of anything to say. Nothing. I mean, my family and I had to come up with everything because he couldn't think of one good thing to say about her. So after we did that, he called me around 3:00 on the 4th of March and asked me to come over because he had found something and wanted to talk to me about it. So his parents are sitting outside on the porch, and he walks me back to their bedroom and sits me down and said, "We found 2 empty vials of fentanyl in the top drawer in her spare bedroom." He said that she was taking this medication to help with her headaches and to help go to sleep because she would stay up all night working, which I thought was weird because he had no idea that she had this secret addiction. So how would he know why she was taking it if he had no idea about it? So they did call the police and reported the 2 empty fentanyl vials in her drawer. And then they did beg me not to go to the funeral home the next day because on the 5th, which was Thursday, my friend and I were supposed to go do her hair and makeup. And his mom kept begging me not to go, saying, "You don't need to see her in that kind of condition after the autopsy. It's going to be really bad." But I never saw her on that Monday when he called me because they were back there working on her and they wouldn't allow me to go back there. And that's why I stayed to watch them carry her off, because I still couldn't believe it. I mean, I know my sister, she's never used drugs ever. She didn't even drink alcohol. She never did anything. She would get prescribed to pain pills because she had pancreatic problems, and she couldn't even take them because she couldn't tolerate them. They would give her headaches. They would make her sick. I mean, she couldn't even take one pill. And so I couldn't believe that she would try to kill herself or even be shooting up anything when she doesn't do anything else. So I had to go to that funeral home and see it for myself. And when I did, the first thing the funeral director asked me was, "How are we going to hide her hands?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" I was told that she was found with a needle, or before I went to the funeral home, I asked Stephen, "Do you think she might have fell or, hit her head or anything? Was there any blood?" And he said, "No, there was just a little bit of blood in the sink. and she might have hit her elbow because there was a little dent in the wall where her elbow was. But other than that, there was no blood. There was no other bruises or anything on her body except for just that little bit of blood on her arm. So I was kind of confused after the funeral home director asked, what should we do to hide her hands because they look so bad. So that's when I asked to see the rest of her body. The first thing that I noticed when the director started showing me her body was the back of her right elbow had probably 2 or 3 injection sites. And that's the first thing I asked. How could she have these injection sites on the back of her right elbow when she's right-handed? And I mean, she was a bigger girl. She was over 200 pounds. So that would be extremely hard to find spots to hit back there with your left hand. And she had told me, I've been doing this for years and I've dealt with a lot of overdoses and I've seen drug addicts and I've never seen anything like this. So then she starts showing me her feet and all up her legs, all on the backs of her legs, both arms. I mean, she was covered in bruises and they were all fresh. They all looked like they were made that day. Now, there were some spots right here on the inside of her elbows that they did look older. And it was about 6 months before she had died. She had came over to my house because she had blood work done. And she was kind of laughing about it, like, look at my arms. I look like a heroin addict or something because they couldn't find a vein. So they stuck me 6 times in this arm and 5 times in this arm. And now this is what it looks like. And that's exactly what her arms look like. And I know that she had went to a doctor the Thursday before she died. And she could have possibly gotten blood work done. And that could have been what those older bruises were from. But when I asked him which doctor that she had went to, he told me a doctor's name. And once I contacted that doctor said, no, I haven't seen her in a year. So we still don't know what doctor she saw that Thursday, which was 4 days before her death. And when I asked him, he said, her doctor's not going to know anything. He wasn't there. And just kind of, he didn't want to help, which is weird because if you think your wife committed suicide, don't you want to know why? I mean, she was seeing a psychiatrist. Don't you want to contact that psychiatrist and see what she was telling him? But he didn't care to find out. He just acted like it was nothing. I never saw any emotions. I mean, even the day that I went there, he just stared at the floor the entire time. He didn't cry. He just stared and just sat there. And I think that he was worried. I honestly think that he might have been worried that she was going to live, that they were going to help her. And he seemed scared. So then I asked him again after I had already seen her face and all of the bruises. I said, are you sure that she didn't fall and hit her head or anything like that? And he said, no, there was just that little bit of blood and just that one little prick in her arm. And so I told the funeral director that, and she said she just opened the evidence bag that she had her clothes in, and her shirt was drenched in blood. And I said, well, he told me that there was just, a couple of drops on her arm and a couple of drops in the sink. And she said that she believes that that was from the paramedics doing compressions on her. Once they started doing compressions, she started bleeding out, and that's how her shirt got drenched, which was kind of odd because he told me that he about passed out from doing compressions. And if that were the case, she would have already bled out if he was doing them accurately. Now, when she was found that Monday, there was an 18 gauge needle in the sink. where she had supposedly been shooting up. She was a nurse for 12 years. She was an amazing stick. Now, you couldn't stick her because she had the worst veins in the world, but she could have done it herself. And she would have known not to use an 18-gauge needle. The picture of the vial that he sent had a 25-gauge needle sitting right next to it. So if she had access to a 25-gauge needle, why is she using an 18-gauge needle in her arm? Then on Friday, we had her funeral. The director let Stephen and I see her first before everyone else. And Stephen had her bouquet from their wedding in the casket with her. And the only thing that he said was, I tried to get her to get rid of that bouquet for years and she never would. So I'm just going to send it with her. And that was all he said when the first time he saw her in the casket. After they did her hair and makeup that Thursday, I went back there to see her. And I was telling the director, I was told that there was no marks on her face. She didn't fall or anything. And the director took a rag and wiped her makeup off and showed me. It looked like there was maybe carpet burn from her forehead all the way to her temple. There was a bruise like right here on the bridge of her nose. Her whole chin was black. And they did a good job covering it up at the funeral, but I just didn't know what to believe because he's telling me one thing and then I'm sitting here looking at something completely different. That Friday when we had her funeral, he came over to my house. A lot of my friends came over and we were just kind of hanging out and talking and stuff. Well, he ended up coming over and he was outside talking to one of my friend's husbands. And he told him that he knows people in Blount County that are high up and he can pretty much get away with anything. And he seemed to act like he was kind of guilty of something. He was just bragging about how he can get away with whatever. Well, then my friend's husband revealed that he was actually a police officer in a different city. And Stephen's demeanor changed and he left. And he was done with that conversation. So then Saturday, the day after her funeral, Stephen called and said, I'm ready to, give you some of her stuff. So I actually had bought her a purse for her birthday that May prior to her passing. And that's really all that I asked for because I know those kinds of purses hold their value. And I was just scared to death that he was going to sell it. So that's really all that I wanted. I would have taken anything that he would have given me, but he wouldn't let us have anything. Me and my mom went over there and he had everything of hers just bagged up in garbage bags, ready to be given away. And he had already given a lot of her stuff that I'd asked for to his sister and just left me and my mom with some workout clothes and some old t-shirts with holes in them. And that's pretty much it. But I did ask if I could have some of her t-shirts and, hoodies and stuff like that. And he grabbed me a couple of shirts. And then I asked him while we were in her bedroom, I said, well, could you reenact what happened that day? Just kind of show me, how you found her and all that. And so he reenacted everything just like he said he found her that Monday. He never choked up or anything. He was just being completely normal. And then right after that, he decides to go through her panty drawer, which is weird because I asked for a sweatshirt. I didn't ask for her panties. And he takes the whole drawer out and there's a bloody napkin laid right on top of the same panty drawer that my mother and I thoroughly looked through the day after she died. So there's a bloody napkin planted on top of everything. He takes the whole drawer out, pours it out onto the bed, and there's all kinds of needles, just all kinds of stuff that we did not see that Tuesday that we looked through it. And I asked him, are you going to report that? And he said, I will. I've still got to finish writing up a statement on the vials that I found, but we haven't heard anything from that. Now, that Monday when she died, when I got there, his uncle that works for the sheriff's department is a deputy, and he was there working the scene the entire time I was there. And I really didn't know that it was his uncle at first. I mean, I'd seen him out on the side of the road when he had people pulled over and stuff like that, but I didn't really recognize him as a family member until the day of the funeral when he was a pallbearer. And I'm thinking, that's the same guy that was there working the scene that day. And once we talked with the authorities, his name wasn't even on their arrival sheet. They didn't even have a time of arrival for him, but he was there working the scene. So I thought that was really weird. On Sunday, we asked about a headstone, if he had, been looking for headstones. And he said he hasn't ordered one yet, but he wanted us to help him pay for it. He said that it had to be a double headstone with his name on it because he bought the plot and he had a plot right next to her. So it had to be a double. And we really didn't want to help pay for a double headstone just because we already had our suspicions about him, and we didn't really want to help. I mean, we would have paid for Breana's headstone in a heartbeat, but the fact that his name had to be on it and we had to pay for his too, we just weren't willing to do that. So it ended up taking over a year for her to get her headstone. And March 2nd of 2021, my mom sent him a text saying, Stephen, it's been a really long year. When will Breana have a headstone? We're visiting her grave often, and there's no monument there. And instead of responding to that text, he gets his mom to make this post on Facebook. On her page, she tags Breana to this post along with the rest of his family. And it was just really rude, and, it was uncalled for, really. There was no need for her to put that on Facebook. But that actually is what started people coming forward with information as far as him having an affair and a lot of different things. Just people coming forward with stuff that they had noticed or witnessed prior to Breana dying. And that's when we really started getting worried because we didn't know any of this. I mean, we haven't been told anything. We don't know. We don't have the autopsy report. We don't have anything. We do have the death certificate. It was ruled as an accidental overdose. But other than that, nobody is telling us anything. And Stephen has the autopsy report. Stephen has all of that information, but not once has he offered to share it with us. You would think if he is so innocent, he would at least try to prove that, but that hasn't happened.
So you don't know, is there an open investigation, or did they just rule it a accidental overdose and peace out?
Well, you would think that the investigation or the case is closed because the death certificate has a manner of death. It doesn't say non-conclusive. Stephen has already gotten paid his life insurance through Breana's work policy. So you would think that it wasn't open, but we're being told that it is, but there's no need to look any further into it. On Friday, March the 13th, which is 2 weeks after Breana died, the original investigator that was on the case, she has since been removed from the case. But she had called me that evening and told me that the vials did not come from Breana's hospital, which we've been told, yes, they have, no, they haven't. Yes, they have, no, they haven't. Now they're saying, yes, they have, and they're certain that they have, and that's why there's no need to look any further into it. But anybody from Princeton that I've asked about the vials, they've never, those vials do not look familiar to them. They've showed me pictures of the vials that they use, and they say that they've never seen any vials that look like that.
Well, you can't just take vials. They're not in a drawer. They're in a Pyxis. So you have to either use your thumbprint, your code. They count all that. And when it's off, there's a discrepancy, and it's a big deal. I mean, I worked bedside in labor and delivery, did use fentanyl sometimes for my patients. And those narcotics are like even double. Some of them you have to even get another person to come before you can pull it out. It needs 2 people. So because of that, I think the only people that really have access to be able to really take something like fentanyl would be anesthesiologists. And what did she do?
She worked in the SICU, so she did have access to it. I mean, she could have gotten it, but Breana didn't steal. Breana didn't use drugs. I mean, there's no
That's
reason.
what I mean. You have to be there'd be a way for them to figure out if she took more than she should.
Right.
You know, did this patient, you know what I mean? Like, did you pull it? We did have a nurse that I worked with that got caught because she was pulling under patients. She was pulling narcotics out under patients' names and not giving it to the patient. And there was a pattern, you know, they noticed, and for sure enough, she was stealing and she was using. So it just sounds as a nurse, and then the 18 gauge needle, to me, that sounds so suspicious. Yeah. I mean, do you guys have a private investigator at all?
We have hired a private investigator, and they have discovered that there was nothing on Breana's records from her job. No missing drugs, no misconduct, nothing. They've even looked into the hospital asking if there was any missing fentanyl vials, and no, there has not been.
Have you requested with the Freedom of Information Act all the records from? Have you done that?
We're actually working on that, but I think in Alabama it's a lot different than most states.
Oh, really?
They don't really.
Well,
they can have a reason to not give you something, and I guess if the case is still open, you won't be.
Yeah, we've asked for my friends a couple of times, and the case is closed, suicide, but and she was left-handed, shot in the right side of her head, but they still won't give us everything. And I've talked to the detectives, and they're just like, sometimes you just don't get the answers, blah blah blah, all this stuff. So it's like beating a dead horse sometimes to try to get information. Mm-hmm. I know that. I mean, my friend died in 2015, so. I'm just wondering, I think definitely squeaky wheel. Lori Day says, what can we do? Squeaky wheel gets the grease. We can all bombard and request an investigation. Yeah. I mean, the more noise that's made, the better, really, I think.
Yeah. And that's why I've actually been getting on all of these groups and joining these pages just to put it out there, just because, I mean, we don't know what else to do. We're not getting help from the authorities. We're having to pay thousands of dollars of our own money to hire someone else to do this investigation for them, because they have actually lost the evidence obtained from our house that day. Well, not lost, but destroyed it. Some of the police photos that I was looking at of the evidence, they're holding these syringes with their bare hands, and the evidence never made it to a locker and was stored properly. So they're saying that they can't have it sent off to be examined because it's contaminated. They took her cell phone, and they're saying since her cell phone sat out for 15 months without being properly stored, that all of the data is gone and they can't look into her phone to see if she had made any phone calls or text messages, all that stuff. And Breana never deleted anything. So I don't know why. I guess they just think we're that stupid to believe something like that. But everything is just destroyed now.
That's awful. That's a terrible story. And, and the way you describe Stephen is just like my friend's husband. He acted like the funeral was a party. He wasn't. He was just like, yeah, she's been acting weird. She's been acting crazy, whatever. And she was actually leaving him, got 200 miles away, and he made her come back. And then she winds up dead that day. And they just don't act right. You know what I mean? They just don't act like that grieving husband. How long were they married?
They were married for 10 years, or it would have been 10 years last November. So about 9 years. And his best friend actually passed away 6 months prior to Breana passing away. And he stayed in bed for a week crying. I mean, he was really upset. But from what we've been told, just days after Breana died, before we even had her funeral, one of his old girlfriends was showing up to his house. Just days after Breana died. That same woman is now living with him in that home that she died in.
So in his phone, is there any communication with, or did they never take his phone with that woman?
No. They never brought him in for questioning. They never interrogated him. They didn't do anything.
Wow. That's horrible. And so he's living with this new woman. Breana's just barely a year passed away, didn't grieve. I mean,
she moved in probably at the end of the summer last year. So within less than half a year, he already had a woman living with him.
I wonder, does he have any kind of history of violence or anything like that, Stephen?
Not that I can think of. And that's why it was just so hard for me to think that he would have done something like this. But there's just so many red flags. I mean, as soon as they pronounced her dead, they asked, can you write a statement? And he was laughing, saying, oh, you won't be able to read my handwriting. And I went to Hayden, and I was like, I'll write the statement for you, because I wanted to see if his story on the statement matched up with what he told me when I first got there. And it didn't. The time had changed. He said that he was gone for an hour. And when I was writing the statement for him, in the statement, he was only gone for 30 minutes. And then he told the investigator originally that he left at like 8 or 8:30 that morning and was gone for 3 hours. So it went from 3 hours to an hour to 30 minutes. And I don't think they even checked his alibi.
So when I worked night shift, the first thing I did, Mom got something to eat and got in bed. And was she supposed to go back to work that night? Do you know? Because she would have been sleeping.
Right. She was supposed to be off for the next 3 or 4 days, I think, after that.
Okay. But still, after working 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., you're exhausted. I mean, you see double. And, she's a foreigner. She's busy. Mm-hmm. And this is right when COVID started, March of 2020. So she would have been asleep at noon.
Right.
She would have been asleep. Oh my gosh, the story burns my butt.
And there's so much more to it. I wish I could share, but eventually we'll get there one day. It's just, there's just too many red flags pointing at him.
Yes.
And even if it was an accident, he needs to just tell us that, because the more he lies about it, it's just making it look more and more suspicious. But
right.
I don't think she would have been. You don't go from doing absolutely nothing to shooting up straight fentanyl. I mean, a nurse that works with it daily knows how fatal stuff like that can be. So I do not believe at all that she would be injecting fentanyl.
I have to plug my computer in. I'm still here.
You're
Tell
fine.
me the battery's low.
And I just find it odd that why would you keep 2 empty vials if you're trying to hide an addiction? You know, if you're trying to hide an addiction, you're going to get rid of those empty vials and not just leave them sitting around somewhere.
Right. You're not going to, now it looks like things were planted.
Exactly, because they did a search. I think they did a search of the bedroom. I don't know if they searched the entire home, but I mean, when you open the drawer, they're just laying right there. So I don't see how that wasn't found.
Yeah, no, there's just too much stuff that is very, really, really suspicious. And, the way you said he acted nervous, because if she would have lived, she could have told the story,
Exactly.
And drug overdoses are the one thing that sometimes, that's probably why they worked on her so long, is because a lot of times you can bring somebody back on a drug overdose.
And they gave her 3 rounds of Narcan. And I've heard that he is telling people that all of those marks that we're talking about is marks from the paramedics giving her Narcan. That is not true. She had injection sites in her kneecaps, all down her legs. Her feet were covered in the same color bruises. The Narcan, you can see where the Narcan, where they put the Narcan in her, because it's a little hole with a red circle with a dot in the middle of it. And
it's not you don't need a vein.
Right. And so we saw where the Narcan was injected. Those marks aren't from Narcan. And now his mom's
hands. Her hands, really.
Both hands. And nobody from work that worked with her that night or that was helping her with her charts the next day noticed anything on her hands.
Sweet One says, was her name on the bottles? They wouldn't have been, though, if she took them. If anybody takes them from the hospital, they're in the Pyxis, so they're not like prescriptions. They're not with your name on them. You wouldn't have your name on them, no matter what. With fentanyl, no, we wouldn't have your name on it.
But we did have prescriptions, and they did look through them, and every single pill was perfect to date. None of them were abused at all. So the prescriptions that she did have, they were not abused.
Okay. See, that tells you a lot right there. Because people that are abusing, they run out too fast. Believe me, these people, I'm a case manager now, and they'll call and they'll be like, it got stolen. I need more. They won't, and you get put on a list through your insurance company if you're overusing, or they have to do an override or whatever more than a couple times. So, that would have, drug addicts, first of all, they can't keep their story straight. They lie. They're scattered, and there's ways to sort of tell. She was a nurse. She showed up for work every day. She had a good record. There's no inconsistencies in her pulling meds. I do not believe for a second that she was using.
And she had just started this job, I want to say September of 2019, and she had to take a drug test to get the job. So within 6 months, she went from doing nothing to shooting up fentanyl. It makes no sense. Even
if she accidentally took it home, because sometimes I've in the past had meds in my pocket and I went home in my scrubs, even if she had, they would have been able to say, oh, she pulled this for this patient at this time, but it wouldn't have been like, it doesn't make any sense. Even if she had it in her pocket, if she wouldn't have had bruises, she wouldn't have had all this other stuff. It's almost like if she did have it in her pocket accidentally from a patient and he found it, then he was like, oh, here's my cover, let me shoot her up with the fentanyl, and then they'll think that was it instead of me, beating her up or whatever. And I know that the autopsies sometimes, I feel like Tam, I don't know if you follow the Daybell case, but Chad Daybell, the same thing. They didn't really do it. They buried her. She said, oh, he made up some baloney, like, oh, she's been depressed. She's been, not herself. She's had poor health, blah, blah, blah. and buried her. They wound up exhuming her body. But, you know, a lot of times they just believe the husband off the bat, like, okay, you know, seems like a
They
stand-up
didn't even
guy.
do a hair follicle test. You know, if they would have done a hair follicle, that would have told you how long she had supposedly been shooting up fentanyl.
Right.
But
right.
you would think an overdose, if they got an autopsy performed, why wouldn't they do a hair follicle?
Right.
Or maybe they did and we're just being told they didn't. I don't know.
Yeah, so you're pretty much in the dark right now if there's anything even being done in the background. But it seems like they should tell you we're working on it or something, you know.
Well, they say that they're certain that these vials came from Princeton, her hospital, so there's no need to look any further into it. And
But even if they did, it could be like what I just said. She could have accidentally had it in her pocket from after work, and then he still could have hurt her and then used that as an excuse.
Well, now there was fentanyl in her system, but we were told that it's a therapeutic level and not a fatal level. But the fact that it was mixed with her ADD medication and her antidepressants it was a lethal combination. But
we give patients all kinds of mixed medicines all the time at the dosage level. That doesn't sound right to me either. Yeah, none of this sounds right to me.
And they said that her amphetamine level was actually a lot higher than it should have been, which I thought was weird too, because all of her prescription pills were perfect to date. And why would you take an extra upper to go home and shoot a downer after you've been up all night? That makes no sense.
No, and if it's her prescribed ADD medicine, it doesn't even do that to her. It keeps her where she needs to be. It doesn't make her, you know.
And she did have to keep that on her at all times, because she did tell me that he would steal it from her if she didn't hide it from him. He also kept track of all of their packages being delivered to their house. Any mail that came to their mailbox, he would get a picture of every day before it was placed into their mailbox. So if she ever bought her friend's birthday presents, she would have to get them sent to my house just so she wouldn't have to hear him. And he didn't work. She worked 2 jobs. He did not work at all. He sat around and griped about her spending money, her own money that she made. And he had her location set on his phone to where he could see what she was doing at all times, because she told me that she would get home different times depending on how busy she was at work, or if they had extra patients, you know, she would be a little bit later. So he made her turn on her location just because he thought that she was cheating. The night that she worked before she died, he was texting her, accusing her of having an affair.
Oh my gosh.
Here he is 2 or 3 days later with another woman at their house after she died.
Yeah, he was projecting. He was accusing her of what he was doing. So it sounds like to me. Wow. Controlling for sure, Ruby. Yeah, very controlling. Ugh. Wow. So let me see. Does anybody have any other questions in the chat? I think the police do know something. Domestic violence, maybe. This is control and abuse, Lori says. It sounds like it. I mean, for her to have to like go and send packages to, yes, life insurance. She did have life insurance and he did collect on it. Probably a decent amount too. Probably at least a couple years worth of her salary. If she just had the basics.
She was actually paying extra to have her salary doubled, and they didn't have kids. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Yeah. So he got a good chunk of money.
And he's already received it. So why is the case still open? Why can't we have access to these reports?
Yeah. Yeah. My friend's husband, they got a big, huge policy right before she died too. They got like a $250,000 or $275,000 policy on her, right, like within a couple months before she died, and he got it. And never were like, and Chad Daybell, the Daybell case that we follow, he got a huge policy on Tammy. He killed her. Now he's in jail, but you know, he got that too. You'd think the insurance company would be like, well, wait a minute, we need a little more information. This is untimely death, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he was already trying to get it before he even got her death certificate. He was contacting her best friend that also worked at the same hospital that she did, seeing if he could get her, go ahead and get her week's vacation paid in advance. Just and that's the first thing he said when they pronounced her dead. If this is considered suicide, am I still going to get her life insurance? I don't know what I'm going to do without that money. I'll lose everything.
That's exactly what my friend Pam's husband said. I hope I can still get her life insurance since she committed suicide. Like, that was like one of the first things out of his mouth to her friends. And then he was like, "Oh, I'll go.
This
Get
to the
good news. I got
investigator.
it." Yeah.
And the investigator's like, I don't know, I don't deal with that stuff. But I mean, that was a red flag right there.
It's one thing, like my mom had said when my friend died, she's like, these kind of cases, you see them on 48 hours and stuff. They usually don't get caught until the next person gets killed, their next spouse, their next girlfriend. There's so many cases like that. Then they go back and they're like, oh, wait, last wife had an untimely death. Okay, now but that's terrible.
And that's the thing. So October of 2020, this is when the original investigator was still on the case. She called me after they were supposed to go to grand jury that day. She called and said, hey, grand jury was stopped by the DA today because apparently Breana had witnessed a murder. She said, do you know anything about that? And I was like, Breana didn't hang out with that kind of people. Like, no, I didn't even believe that. But apparently the DA had got a phone call 2 days prior to the grand jury. And she said that she stopped grand jury because Breana was a witness to a murder. Therefore, she was murdered. So they're going to look into it. And the investigator asked me, do you know anything about this? And she said, well, should I call Stephen and ask him if he knows anything? I said, well, no, if the investigation is ongoing, I would rather him not know about it. But she did end up calling Stephen and asking him about it. And he claims that he doesn't know anything about it either, but we don't know anything else about that.
I think if you guys are close sisters, she would have told you if she witnessed a murder.
I don't know, because she could have been protecting me. She didn't talk to me for 2 weeks before she died. She would come to my house every single day. And if she wasn't at my house, we were on the phone. I mean, we were very close, but she came over just about every day. And I had just seen her 2 weeks prior to her dying. She showed up at my house in shorts, a tank top, and flip-flops, and not one mark on her. But then 2 weeks went by and she wouldn't answer my phone calls. She wouldn't text me back. Nothing.
Yeah. People are throwing spanners in the works. Something isn't right. Yeah. It sounds like it. Somebody dropped a hint, which wasn't even, to sidetrack them or something. And if people on the inside know what's going on, like, you usually don't know when a grand jury is going to convene, but sounds pretty suspicious that the timing about finding out that she witnessed a murder happened right before the grand jury. So many things. There's so many red flags in this. So many red flags.
Now they're saying that it should go to grand jury after February. Go back to grand jury after February. Because like I said, they said that since they're certain that the vials came from Princeton, there's no need to look any further into the case. But I don't think they're certain they came from Princeton. And I told him, I'll accept the fact that she did, and I can accept the fact that she did this to herself, but I want facts. I want you to lay the proof out in front of me and show me. And until then, I'm not going to accept it because I know that she didn't do it. Right.
Prove it. I mean, beyond a reasonable doubt, you need to prove that. Right. You know what I mean?
And I mean, vials have lot numbers. It's not that hard to trace them.
No.
They won't even.
That's true. Yeah.
They won't even tell us what the lot numbers are. We could trace it ourselves if they would just give us the lot numbers, but
they won't give you that. And you said she was at work that night and nobody saw any bruises or anything on her.
Nothing.
know.
And the condition that her feet were in, there's no way that she could have worked a 12-hour shift on her feet. There's no way. I mean, the tops of her feet were covered. The sides, the arches of her feet, both feet were just covered. Both hands were covered on the front. Somebody would have noticed that. And they all
Sounds
say
like
that
she was fighting him off.
yes, she even had bruises on her palm right here. You don't inject right there. I mean, that's defense wounds to me, looking at those bruises. There was marks on her wrist, but not injection sites, almost as if she might have been tied up.
Oh.
And then the arches of her feet, they line up perfectly with finger marks. I mean, there's no holes in them. There's just bruising all over her feet. And nobody said that she was acting any different at work. And anybody that knows, see, I didn't even know what fentanyl was until March 2nd of 2020. I had no idea what it was. But anybody that does know anything about it, they'll tell you, you can't function on fentanyl. You can't work. You can't do anything.
And it's very short acting, by the way. It we would give it to our labor and delivery patients that didn't want an epidural earlier, and it only lasts for about 30 minutes. Like, it's not, but you're out, like, you are high, and then it goes away. So for her, it just doesn't. None of it sounds right to me at all. She couldn't have. You can't function, and you don't start. Like, fentanyl is a big, heavy duty drug. And so she would have to be shooting it up often, all day, all night long, every couple of hours. So that's why they give the fentanyl patches to people on hospice and stuff, because it's a slower released. So an IV fentanyl, it makes no sense to me. And again, the 18 gauge are big needles. We use them when I worked in labor and delivery to start IVs, 18 gauge, because you have to be able to give blood because they're at risk for bleeding out. So an 18 gauge needle is a big needle. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to give yourself, shoot up anything, the 25 gauge makes much more sense.
And we asked about that. We said, if she was doing this to herself, why would she use an 18 gauge needle with all of the experience that she has as a nurse? And they said, well, it was because she was using a needle that size to hit major arteries. But it was her arm that she was injecting in. So what major artery in your arm do you need an 18 gauge needle for?
And you use a bigger one for an artery, number one, bigger than 18. And why would you shoot up into an artery? That makes no sense. Do you want to just automatically, then that would be more like suicide. Yeah. No, it's called a vein. Wow. Unbelievable. What did our good grandma says? They said it was legal fentanyl, or did her husband have a drug dealer?
The pictures of the actual vial that was found are on her page.
Let me see. I think I got them up here. Let's see. Oops. I went back to my Facebook. I got to go back to hers. Hold on. Okay. They're on.
In the comments of the first post that you see on there.
Okay.
You'll see the picture of the fentanyl vial.
Okay. I'm on the picture page. So let me get back to on the comments. Okay. Oh, there it is, I think. Right here. Okay. Let me share this. So,
and if you zoom in, the number that's on that barcode, that's the number that they inquired on. And that's what makes them so certain that they came from Princeton.
Right. But again, even if it did, I still don't see that would be open and shut, even if it came from Princeton.
I mean, you could call a hospital in Hawaii and they would probably say, yeah, we've had those vials.
Right.
But that's the NDC number. That's not the lot number.
Okay. Yeah. So, right. So, yeah, no. And then, wow, unbelievable. So, because I thought there was then this one, this is what they said.
Yes, that is what their vials look like at Princeton. That was sent from a coworker, and she showed me that's what the vials look like. They look nothing like the ones found in her drawer.
Wow. Unbelievable. That's awful. I mean, I hope that you get somewhere with this case. And, what is this? You took this?
Yes. Whenever he asked, or the day after her funeral, he said that he was ready to get rid of some of her things. She had 2 or 3 purses hanging up in the hallway, and I just wanted that one purse that I bought for her. And he said, well, go ahead and grab that purse too. We'll go through it. And I told him I didn't want that purse. I just came for the purse that I was asking for. He said, well, just grab it anyways, and we'll go through it. So when I opened it up, that needle or syringe right there, that's the only thing that was in that purse.
So, I mean, in my suspicious mind, these were planted, right?
Absolutely. Because the purse that I bought her, she had carried that purse every day since her birthday. So why would she have needles in an old purse from 2017?
Right. And these needles, like these, I always had stuff in my pockets like that, because those aren't really, they're not like you just wind up putting them in your pocket because you need stuff at the drop of a hat. So you have things in your pocket and you come home with them. I mean, I did too. That isn't super suspicious that she would have these needles. The medicine, yes, but
those needles were found. That's her panty drawer where he had taken everything out that day. The panty drawer that we thoroughly looked through and didn't see anything in. Those are also his black gloves that he.
Oh,
that's
really?
his. He had a pair of black gloves on that day that was in that garbage can that he was trying to empty out. Those black gloves are in their evidence right now.
Wow.
The same kind of black gloves. So why would you be wearing black gloves, or why would you be wearing gloves to work on your wife?
You wouldn't.
And why would she be wearing gloves to inject?
She wouldn't.
But that's what was found in the garbage can that he was trying to empty out.
Wow. Unbelievable, Brittany. Wow. I hope that grand jury, I hope that something comes of this, really, because there's so many suspicious things that went on here. Like so many.
I agree. And it's frustrating because we feel like nobody's on our side. Everybody's on his side. I mean, everybody's doing everything they can to help him and not the victim's family.
You need to keep doing this. There's a whole lot of YouTube channels that I know it's kind of a weird time of year. People aren't watching as many, December is always hard, but I think after the holidays, you really just need to. What about Cold Justice? Have you looked at them?
Supposedly, I don't think so.
Cold Justice is one to reach out to. People keep telling me. Oh, Ruby, is there a GoFundMe, Brittany?
I haven't set one up just because I really don't feel like we've needed that. We only have until March of 2022 in order to, do any lawsuits like a wrongful death or anything like that. The statute of limitations does run out after 2 years.
So close now.
Yeah. So I've just kind of gotten to the point to where I don't know what to do. I mean, I just feel like it's over.
Well, I don't think so. I think unfortunately, you're going to have to just be the squeaky wheel. And I mean, just do more shows, do more Facebook, contact like Cold Justice, contact Dr. Phil. I mean, really, Profiling Evil is a good one on YouTube to contact. Mike is awesome. Who else, you guys? Trisha. Where's Trisha? Web Sleuths. Trisha would be an excellent person to get in touch with. And she's one of my members too. So we can tag her maybe. Let me see if I can tag her.
Yeah, because I do feel like the more I get it out there, it could possibly put public pressure on the county just to
For
show,
sure.
you know, how horrible of a job they've done.
We've seen it's really weird because I started my channel just kind of wanted to look at like old cases and stuff like that, like tell stories. And it turned into like cases that are out there that are undone. Like that's why I named it Left Undone, right? And I've seen so many cases start with the YouTube community. And then all of a sudden, you know, people like Dr. Phil, I mean, Mike King on Profiling Evil, he seems to have a good relationship with Dr. Phil. He's been on his show. There's a lot. Gray Hughes would be good, really good. Gray and I a lot of times follow the same cases. I would just go in their chats and, you know, obviously a lot of them will know because we follow each other, that we did this. Dateline, have you written to Dateline? Because they'll usually write at least they'll do, not necessarily right away, they'll do the show, but they'll do a article about it. Yeah, I just think you really, and I'll help. I'll spread the word. The interview room, you know, he would probably be really good. Chris McDonough on the interview room. He is YouTube big. He's grown a lot lately because he'll even go places. Like him and his wife and his son are living in their what is it called? Their stream. What is it called, you guys? The Airstream. And they travel and they'll go, like they will go to places where they met with Dawn, the Summer Wells case. They've made that one really big. Yeah. So awesome. Gray is really good. Duty Ron is another one. Duty Ron. You can tag him. I believe he follows my Duty Ron. He follows my channel and I follow his. So yeah, and the local news, has the local news done anything about it? Have you had anything on the local news?
I've tried reaching out to Dateline, Nancy Grace, local news channels.
Start with the YouTubers. Start with the other YouTubers. Cold Case Panel is with Chris. Okay. Profiling Evil has an actual page. And, you know, Mike King is really good about emailing back. I have emailed him a couple of times about different things, and I can email him too, Profiling Evil. And if you go on his website, you should be able to see his link to get his email address.
Okay.
Oh yeah, they are kind of like leading the van life, Chris and Karen, right? And his wife was an investigative reporter, and he is a retired detective, Chris McDonough. And yeah, so I think, I mean, I know it's a lot of work and stuff, but you're definitely invested in this more than, you know, anyone. And I would just see what other, and you did it now, you're here, you've got, you know, you came live stream. So if you can go on other ones and just keep doing this community is amazing to me. They get on, you know, the people that follow the YouTube channels, like they all follow all of them, like they're naming them right now. And I've just seen a lot of progress and a lot being made just from YouTubers. And then it gets bigger, and then it goes to Dateline, and then it goes to Dr. Phil or whatever, all those. So yes, there are a lot of us that can spread the word. And a lot of times I'll get my cases because somebody will be in my live stream and they'll be like, can you please follow the blah, blah, blah case? And I'll be like, I haven't heard of it. Let me look into it. And then I'll look into it. So my members go in a lot of live streams. If you guys are in Trisha's or in Duty Ron's or anybody, start asking if they could follow the Breana Noojin Nix case and reach out to Brittany. And they can always reach out to me. Yeah.
Any help is so greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for all of the help Me as well.
Yeah, we'll do it for sure. And we'll keep it, and then we'll, keep in touch with me too. Let me know, because we'll have you on again when something happens, like if there's more. Hopefully there'll be more for updates and stuff. Hopefully there'll be more soon.
Yes, and I'm hoping that we can get the whole case solved and put him in prison so I can tell everything, because there's so much that I want to tell. I just can't right now.
Right. No, that's understandable. And then, and this kind of, let's see, web sleuths with Trisha no longer recommends Chris false accusations. Okay. So sometimes there's some YouTube drama behind the scenes between the channels. And hi, Janet. Welcome to becoming a member on Left Undone. I really appreciate it. We'll give you the link to our Discord. So, there's anywhere you work or do things, there's drama in the background. And sometimes there is drama between YouTubers and stuff like that. But you just stay on your mission and reach out to all of them, and we'll help for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I will email a couple of them myself that I have their email addresses to. And she doesn't have a GoFundMe, Liz. They just didn't feel like they needed it at this point. But yes, we are very sorry for your loss. But if you ever do start a GoFundMe, send it to me, message me on Facebook, and we'll spread the word on that too for private investigator. And I will give you MJA Investigations. I want you to reach out to them as well. And I will email them, because I'm talking to them about another case I had. I don't know if you watched it, but it was like last Saturday or the Saturday before, the Bohannon case. Joshua Bohannon, his aunts were on. And
oh yes, from Tennessee.
Yes.
I'm actually working in Cookville this coming up weekend.
Yes. So we'll, like I said, we'll do everything we can to spread the word and get it out there, and hopefully more channels will pick it up, and we'll keep going. And please keep me updated with.
There may be some things that I've missed on here, but her page, it gives you the whole story, all of the details. So if you join her page, if there's anything that I left out, the page will definitely have it.
I'm going to copy and paste it into the chat right now, her Facebook page, so that they can have the link. Somebody should probably start. Well, it's a blog, so that's good, because you have all the information on there. And then, you also have a website too.
Yes, my mom did make a website, but it really doesn't have a lot of information. We just thought Facebook was the easiest way to comment with pictures and proof and stuff like that. But if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, it has how, things that the husband, he cleaned his Facebook up after Breana died. I guess an attorney told him to. So we have all the pictures of stuff that he posted prior to him cleaning it up, and a lot of messages, inbox messages of people telling me certain things about him. It's got all of that. So if you just keep scrolling through all of the posts and comments, it'll tell you a lot. Okay, good. This gives us a lot of information. Okay. Yeah, because down at the bottom, that's where when I first made the page, and I feel like I should do a video on it, the whole story as well, instead of just a live stream, because a lot of times my videos get a lot of views more than the live streams do. So I'll work on that. I don't know how fast I can do it. We have had a lot of time to put all of that stuff on there versus me just, coming up with all this to tell. Yeah, there's so much to it. If I go through this whole website and get pictures and stuff, I can probably make a whole video like I do with a lot of cases that tell the whole story, and get as many details in there as possible that you have here. So yeah, it just kind of shows what all we've dealt with since her death, and just how ugly his family has been towards us, and other people's opinions about him. Wow. Okay. Yeah, so we'll work on that for sure. And I really, really appreciate you being here. And we're very sorry
I mean, it's just the most horrible thing. Thank you, Liz, for your donation. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just a horrible, gone too soon, unnecessarily. My heart, being a nurse, really, that bothers me to no end. And it's just senseless. And clearly she was a good nurse and she had a good record and she'd been an RN and she was needed in this world for that. So do you have anything else you want to say before I let you go?
I just want to say thank you for helping us cover her story and getting everything out there. That helps us a lot, and we really do appreciate that.
You're very welcome. And like I said, I won't forget about it. We'll keep going. Just keep me posted on anything. Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I will let you go. And thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And thank you, chat, for being so kind and good questions.
Thank you, Kathryn.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, you guys. So yeah, that's a really bummer story. Gosh, so hard. Yes, stay strong, Brittany. And I think I can remove her now. So yeah, you guys, that's really sad. What is going on? My computer's doing something really weird. Really weird. Let me get rid of it. I don't know what this is about. It popped up some. I can't even see my chat right now. No. Okay, it's gone. Oh, they're not painted. I'm in another room. I'm in my guest room now. I moved. And they will be painted because I got the paint. I got all of my stuff. So I'm going to paint them tomorrow, this weekend. But and then I'll show you. But they're not painted yet. This is supposed to be my guest room, because when I moved 2 hours away from my kids, I thought they would come and stay often, but apparently they don't. So this room is just empty. They're too busy for their mom. My lips are it's so dry out here right now. My lips are so dry. Thank you, Kristen. You're always so sweet and kind. And thank you for the donation. Really appreciate it. And lots of prayers for Brittany's family and Brittany, and just a heartbreaking story. And her story really does need to get out there, because this is just senseless. I mean, there's more on this than there is on my friend. And I'm so about my friend. So there's so much circumstantial evidence, so much stuff. I hope that she can get this story out there. Yes, Kristen is always so kind. So after that, let's move on a little bit to the Daybell case. Guess what? January of 2023 through March of 2023, the case should go to court, hopefully. No sooner than that, I guess. Seems like forever. Did you guys watch Kay and Larry's interview on Court TV yesterday? I think it was popped up. I can show it if you haven't seen it. If you'd like to see it, let me find it. But Kay and Larry, it's interesting what they say. They're very, they don't think they don't think Lori is incompetent at all. And they're just mad still, clearly, obviously, just like us. They think Lori's just playing the system like Lori does. So let me find that and we can play it. I think on Kresha had, let me find Kresha's. Let me find Kresha, because she posted it last night. Oops, sorry. YouTube. Oh, goodness gracious. Her channel is, I can look in the library because I watched it. There it is. Okay. Let's see. Let me play it for you, okay?
I've been obsessed with belts for a long time. I wear a belt every day, and there was like 3 things that always drove me crazy about belts. You have all these holes, but you only use one of them. This big flap hanging off the front, and it usually sticks out under your shirt.
We'll give her the
And so I'd search high and
we'll give
low
her
for a
the
belt that
ad
would like
for a minute,
not
you
do
know,
any
so
of
she
those
gets
things,
the
and I
view
couldn't
for the
find
ad.
it. There's enough things in life that are super complicated, and I like to simplify things down. As an engineer, I thought,
it's pretty long.
it'd be fun to try to design.
All right, let's go.
Consider that start date of January 9th, because then that's going to put us out to, I think it's March. If we wanted 10 weeks, then that would be March 17th or March 24th for an end date.
That was the judge setting the date for the Doomsday Couple murder trial. And he was talking about, January, about 10 weeks will be done in March. But it's not next year. It's the year after, 2023, 14 months from now. That trial now set to go. I want to bring in some special guests joining us tonight, Larry and Kay Woodcock. They're the grandparents of J.J. Vallow, the little guy who all of us were looking for. And unfortunately was found where he was found. Larry, Kate, thank you so much. How are you guys holding up? We're in the middle of the holiday season, and it's got to be a tough time for you guys.
Well, hi, Benny. How are you?
Okay.
We are bound and determined to have a good holiday season this year. The last 3, because both of our mothers died in 2018. So then everything that happened in 2019 was horrible. 2020 was horrible. And so this year we're going to have a good one.
That's so great to hear. That is so great to hear. So let's start with your reaction to what we just heard. The judge setting the date for January 2023.
It really doesn't seem that far away. And I know I heard several comments last night and some from the think tank you had last night on about how long they're being in jail. Well, the clock really didn't start on the murder charges until the indictments were handed down May 25th of this year. So really, you go into January of 23 and they're right at 18, 19 months in getting done. So really, nobody should be surprised that it's going to be in 23, because if you don't want to wait it out, then maybe you shouldn't murder people. That's a good way to handle that. Then you have no reason to complain.
That's a great argument. Larry, I'm sure that you guys are going to be there for the trial. You're making plans already that you'll be there?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. We will definitely be there.
I wanted to take also get your reaction, because we got this breaking news that the grand jury has been reconvened. And what it exactly means, I'm not sure. What it could potentially mean, I don't know. Could mean more charges, could mean more potential defendants. What is your understanding and your reaction to hearing that this grand jury has been reconvened?
We didn't hear anything about it until a friend sent us the link last night to watch the show. And so we were totally clueless about it. They don't tell us those things. And, we really don't want to know those things, because it makes us worry too much. But Chanley, the way Chanley described what it could be last night on your show, and then your think tank saying that they could be maybe indicting additional defendants, which, good Lord, we know there's a good handful out there that should be in prison as far as we're concerned, because they knew things weren't right, yet they didn't do a thing about it. So, I feel like maybe one of them is going to be indicted, and they're going to hopefully turn on Chad and Lori, and hopefully it'll get this down the road more than where it is now. Just anything to get this going is a good thing.
Absolutely. And no verdict is guaranteed. I've seen cases with
Right.
overwhelming evidence, and juries have seen it another way. So the more prosecutors can get, obviously, the stronger their case can potentially be. Thinking about this whole circle that Lori was involved in, and with Chad and all these other folks with their beliefs about doomsday, et cetera. What are your thoughts now that Lori has been deemed not competent to stand trial? In your interaction with her through the years, did she ever come across like she was having some sort of a break from reality?
No, never. It never occurred. Lori is playing the system with the assistance of other person or people. And if you don't believe that, then I got some swamp property I want to sell you. But I can tell you right now, she was competent, she was bright, she was articulate. She knew the whole time what was going on. She chose to close her eyes. And what I don't want to see out of this is the public and people involved in this case all of a sudden starting to feel sorry for poor Lori and poor Chad being locked up in jail. Well, I got news for you. There ain't a better place on earth for them people except a graveyard.
What do you think?
And I apologize.
No apologies necessary. No apologies necessary from any victim. And that's who you guys are. You guys are victims here. JJ is not here. He should be here. He should be visiting you for the holidays. You should be having fun. You should be on FaceTime. You should be reading stories about Santa and everything else. That's what should be happening. So please don't apologize, Larry. You never have to apologize to us. What do you think was the real motivation here? We've heard the story of the doomsday and the books and the prophet and all that. I see things a little differently. I think it was much more simple what was going on here. But I'm interested in what your thoughts are about who was making the decisions and what was driving all of it.
I think the decisions were being made in cooperation with both individuals. And it boiled down to one thing: money and lust. And it's been that way, and greed. And all she had to ever do was just pick up the phone and call me.
If you're over the age of 35, this is how much earwax is trapped in your ears right now. For some, it's
And tell us to come get JJ. She knew we wanted him. We had been pursuing her for months, wanting to visit or go to see him. We never tried to threaten. I never tried to come across like it was a threat.
There was never a threat.
As long as she was being a good mother, he needed to be with his mother.
Absolutely.
But she wasn't being a good mother. And as we so well know now, but they had complete control the whole time. And while they were parading on the beach in Hawaii, while everybody in the Western United States was looking for these two kids, then yeah, there's no sympathy, and we're done. I mean, we're done with them. There's no sympathy here, and I don't think she's incompetent. I think she's malingering. She's doing what she's always done. And if you
Just
go
playing
back to
people.
you go back to what she did in the courtroom and in the court hearings when when Lori and Joe Ryan were fighting over Tylee, Lori snubbed her nose at the court the entire time, and nothing was ever done to her. She was never disciplined for it. And so right now, guess what? She's doing the same thing. And
And I think it's being done and help with outside help. And I think it's being done, and she knows what somebody is telling her. And without a doubt, she is playing her same selfish game. Selfish game.
What I wondered, excuse me, and what I wondered is Mark Means got in that hospital to visit her. How is that something that is normal? Does a normal attorney go see his client when they're in a psych hospital because they're incompetent? And if she could do that phone call the way she said she did, then she's very competent. She can put all that together to do it, then she is very competent. She's as competent as me.
Well, Kay and Larry, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Always great to hear from you. And the best news, again, is that you guys are going to be able to enjoy the holidays this year. And we wish you the warmest holiday greetings and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, all of that. And let's keep in touch, and we'll speak again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to come on and speak.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right, folks.
Tonight, we're going to hear from you, the 13th juror.
Wow. Yeah. So see, they think she's malingering, and I kind of do too. I mean, we've been talking about it for a while. You'd think that what is going on with this microphone? Sorry, it's going to make a weird noise for a minute here. You'd think that the healthcare professionals that are evaluating her would be able to pick up on that. Why aren't they? But you know what? I don't trust anybody anymore. After listening to all these cases and stuff, like, I don't trust anybody. Like, everybody's on the side of the criminal, I feel like, anymore. Ruby says, of course she's competent. How she's playing the system is unreal. Yeah. And they're right. I mean, if she could make that phone call, that's all manipulation. Marky, blue-eyed lawyer of mine, son, my counselor made me make a phone call, and I had to talk to the Mormon church, and guess what happened? Look what happened to me. Blah, blah. And now Mark has like another, he just filed, it's 70 pages. I didn't even get a chance to look at it, but Mark is out of control. As always. Oh, I just remembered your recliner come. No, the recliner hasn't been here yet. Isn't here yet. It's supposed to be out for delivery again today. FedEx, I don't know what they're doing. But my mom is so funny because, she always sleeps in a recliner because she says sidebar conversation. Because she says she can't sleep in her bed. But now that her recliner's broken, because it's one of those electric recliners that lift you up, she told me last night she slept better than ever. She slept in her bed. I'm like, see, because you're sleeping in a bed. Anyway, recliner should be here, but I have no idea how I'm going to get it in or out or put it together. She has, in her mind, she thinks there's movers bringing it, and it's not. It's going to be me dragging it in from the front porch because it's coming FedEx. Mark is literally incompetent. He isn't. First of all, my lips are so chapped. Sorry, I have to keep doing this because my lips are so darn chapped. Let's see. I think the legal system and mental institutions have a bunch of quacks working for them in the state of Idaho. Seriously, it's just messed up. That document is a piece of poo. I haven't really looked at it. I saw you guys posted in or the link to it in Discord or yeah. Also, I wanted to find, and I'm going to look real quick. I really wanted to share something with you guys before we go. I have an appointment at 12:45 to go pick up my new glasses. I got prescription sunglasses and prescription these computer glasses again. So these will be replaced. I got 3 pairs of new glasses because I had money in my HSA account to do it, and so I got to pick them up at 12:45. But anyway, but we still have time. It's only 12:07. I want to find it's this one. You guys, the Bring Echo Home Echo Lloyd case. She just did I want to share this with you. She just did a live stream or a live the other day. And since we follow her case and there hasn't been anything new, I want to play this for you. So hold on one second. Let me get it up here for you. Gotta remember to share the audio.
Hey, everybody, or people have been asking for an update.
She's talking very quiet, so hopefully she gets louder.
There's just been a lot that's happened since the summer, and it has made me extremely reluctant and nervous to get back on here, but here we are. My mom is Echo Lloyd. She's 5'4". She went missing at 47 years young. She'd be 49 now. Brown hair, brown eyes, beautiful smile, about 100 to 110 pounds. She went missing the week of May 10th, 2020. I don't know that everyone has noticed, but Missouri State Highway Patrol has updated her missing persons poster to missing May 14th, 2020 was the last date she was seen. So according to her neighbor, she was seen on the 14th of May, the day before I reported her missing. There's just been a lot. Many reasons that I have, in a sense, went silent. So I'm not trying to keep it quiet. I've just had to learn the hard way to be very reluctant about who I talk to and who I open up to about this case, because there are a lot of different wheels turning to it. And I've had a lot of letdowns in July. I did do a small search for her, at which point I actually thought that we had found something, and law enforcement, it's really messed me up. I started making calls that day to law enforcement. I was told that law enforcement would be involved, be on scene. I was lied to. I wasn't contacted until about 3 hours after I did that. And then was told I'd be contacted the next day, which I said is extremely odd. Since then, they tried to discredit the situation, which I understand there are laws and regulations to abide by. I did call up the ladder. I was mocked by the lieutenant. I was spoken down to. I called senators. I called the governor. I called just about everybody, the attorney general, as to which the attorney general's office told me that they are the lawyers for law enforcement, and it was a conflict of interest. So I apologize for my silence. But in a sense, sometimes you get to a point where you're not sure exactly what else to do. So she's still missing. I still really want to reiterate the point that I know for a fact, I know her neighbor is who knows where she is and what's happened to her. And I'm not going to let that go. He is the center. If there was another person involved with her, it is because of him. It is because of this neighbor. Not a doubt in my mind. Not one, not a shred. He is the reason she's missing. So I've been trying to keep updated with Missouri Highway Patrol. I am really holding out the hope that what they're doing now will bring results. Of course, they are not able to explain much to me. or give me a lot of information, but I do hold out the hopes that Missouri Highway Patrol hopefully starts to gain some traction on this and get some answers, because I am getting really sick and tired of spending my holidays not knowing where she is and knowing that that murderer is out there with his family. And I'm just not comprehending how he's able to get away with this. I really don't care. He's just not smart enough to get away with this, but there was a lot of negligence on this case from the get-go. And I think that that really helped mess up us finding her sooner. So she's still missing. I still know, I know that he's done something with her and he has her somewhere. And he's how we're going to find the answers, unless the cops are able to pick up the pace and actually be doing something. So I do still hold out the hope that they are doing something to bring her home. Please know that letters being written, phone calls being made, does light a fire under them. Continue to make those calls. Continue to send letters. Continue to let them know that we are not going to let up until she is home. Let them know that not only her family is going to continue to push for justice for Echo, we're all going to do it. So that's all I ask. Keep spreading the word about her disappearance. Keep calling them. Keep writing them letters. Not only Benton County, Missouri State Highway Patrol Troop A. Reach out to them. Let them know she deserves to be home and she deserves justice. This man should not be walking free. I am just mind blown and mind boggled at the fact that nobody's behind bars. And of course, I can't go into deep discussion about her case, and I'm not going to anymore. There's not a doubt in my mind, with all the evidence that's been obtained over almost the last 2 years. It has been 566 days since I reported her missing. And still no justice, no nothing. And I do understand how police, have to work. I can't give you much. But when there's literally nothing, nobody checks in with me, kind of seems like you just don't care. And we need them to know that we care and that we expect them to be doing their jobs and bring her home. So that's all I can ask. Know that we love you. We appreciate you. I apologize. It took me a while to get on here. But I have never felt more let down in my life. And it brought me to a halt for a little bit. But I'm not anymore. Full speed ahead. Keep searching for her, keep talking about her, keep spreading her word, keep calling the cops, keep letting them know that we're not going to stop until she's home. We love and appreciate everybody. Happy, happy holidays.
So, yeah. Oops, let me turn that off. So it's such another just terrible, heartbreaking case. I am so losing faith in law enforcement with all these cases, though. The more we look, the more all these criminals, I'm afraid to go to the store. Like, there's criminals walking around all over the place. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable. These cases aren't getting, I know it takes a long time to build a case or whatever, and they need actual factual evidence so it can go to court, blah, blah, blah. But man, I feel like everybody's on the side of the criminal right now. How many cases are we following where no one's getting any answers? It's disgusting. It's horrible. We know that Echo did not disappear on her own. Yeah, sweet one. So Echo Lloyd disappeared. And there's some, I did a video on her, and I had her daughter on a while back. Maybe like, it's been a year, probably almost a year ago when I had her on. And there's just no movement in this case. And she's as frustrated as Brittany, who we just had on. So there's too many cases, and there's too many unanswered questions, and there's too many criminals just walking around All of them. Yeah. So I guess I named my darn channel right. The more we follow these cases, Left Undone. Hello. How about let's get it done? Change the name. Let's get it done instead of leaving them undone. Anyway, I feel so sorry for these people and these families. Victims don't have the rights that offenders do. It's ridiculous. Absolutely. Yeah. It's horrible. Yep. Left Undone. Right. Named it Left Undone. I guess that was probably the right thing to do because all we're doing is following cases that aren't done. I mean, it was the best thing ever when Chad Daybell was arrested. We knew Lori had been in jail for a long time, and the fact that they found those kids is a huge blessing, Tylee and JJ, because I think if they wouldn't have found Tylee and JJ's bodies, I think Chad would be still walking around gathering his 144,000. And it'll be really, 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 yes, Echo did. She disappeared from her own home. Hey, Karen Boardman. And I mean, how do you disappear from your own home? You know, so, and her poor daughter, I mean, she's been put through the ringer with the law enforcement. You know, they tell you not to go say anything. All these people come in, they'll be like, well, we weren't talking because like Michael Vaughn, Monkey, his mom and dad were told not to talk. Right. But now Brandy is talking because it's like law enforcement says don't talk. But how do you get the information out there if you don't talk? Because law enforcement isn't out there parading around, going on YouTube channels to talk about all these cases. So if you know any other cases that you think we should bring on, let me know. Have them contact me. New email address is Left Undone. What is it? Official. God, I've changed my email address so many times, but leftundoneofficial@gmail.com. Yes, I do too. I agree with their daughter. That weirdo neighbor was trying to control Echo. Absolutely. And he thought there was more to the relationship. So clearly she was pushing him away and something happened. Brandy does. She was on Zab Girl. Tiffany would be another good one for Brittany to go on. Zab Girl. She would probably do a really good job talking to her and getting the story out as well. So whatever live streams you go on, you guys, if you could maybe just drop a hint or ask those live streams to maybe get have Brittany come on about Breana's case, because it's a truly frustrating case. And of course, Echo, share that information as well, because we've been following it for so long and it's just sad that there's no movement. They're not talking. We need to be their voice. Someone has to help them. Thank you for doing that. Yes, that's what we need. And that's what I think, like, every time people is, why do you have a true crime channel? And I'm like, I don't know. I just started it. But I realize now this community and all of you that follow true crime on YouTube, we have a voice, and it's a big voice, and we've seen it, and we've seen it take off. And look what happened with Gabby Petito case. Without social media, without the YouTube people, without those, who knows if she would have ever been found. And Brian Laundrie probably be still riding his bike out in front of his house, So we think that we don't really realize how much of an impact we have. And I'm really proud of that we all, as a community do have an impact and we can make difference. And that's why I'm a nurse. I want to make a difference. So that's why my YouTube channel, we want to make a difference. Innocent until proven guilty. So without evidence of involvement, he walks free. Need a private investigator. Right. Yes, Zab Girl. Tiffany can do a great interview and get it out there. She can. And she has a lot of subscribers, and she has a lot of people in her live streams. So she'd be another really, really good one. All right, you guys, I'm going to go pick up my glasses, and thank you all for being here. I told you I'm going to try to do more live streams. I'm sorry I haven't been doing, some people are like, why aren't you doing more videos? I feel like if I can do the live streams face to face. I don't have to spend the 8, 9, 10 hours editing live streams. And so for right now, while we're getting through the holidays and stuff, I'm probably not going to be doing any videos right now, but I will try to do more live streams and pop on and that kind of thing too when there's new developments. And I think there's something going to happen real soon here with the Daybell case because they had a grand jury on yesterday. So, you know, every time we think that there's nothing happening in the Daybell case, surprise, something else happened. So are millions of people strong? Excellent work. Thank you. Yes. YouTube and the YouTube community and everyone that follows true crime are definitely very strong. And thank you, everybody. And thank you for those that donated. And if you want to become a Left Undone member, go ahead and join. I will go right now because I always forget and put the Discord link for members only in the chat. I don't know what happened to Veronica. She joined last week and she'd been trying to get in Discord and somebody needs to help her. And I tried to help her, but she's been asking me how to get in Discord and I don't know what else to tell her besides click the link and then join. I don't know. Yeah, go back and watch. I need to go back and watch it again too, because it's been a while. And thank you, Karen. Thank you, mods, everyone. I appreciate you all and stay safe, stay well. And I will see you soon. I will definitely, we just need to do more. I need to do more live streams. And now I got this room set up like this and quiet, and it's not my office until somebody decides to come spend the night. We're good. I'll just do this. So I just need a place that's completely set up, you know, and my house. My kids aren't coming to spend the night. They can sleep on an air mattress. I got this room. So thank you guys. Appreciate you and stay safe. Stay well. I'll see you soon. Bye.